हर किसी के वास्ते है बादलों में कोई बूंद, हर किसी के वास्ते है बादलों में कोई बूंद, शर्त यह है कि उतनी शिद्दत से कोई प्यासा तो हो। राजेश रेड्डी. Because you have a thirst to learn something and I have a thirst to teach something, we have came to this particular platform. Today the topic we are going to discuss is a very important topic in metal casting, and this topic is called as a riser design. Now first the question can come to our mind that what is a riser? So how do we define the riser? So we can say that riser is a reservoir of a liquid metal. Now we all know that in mold cavity we do supply a liquid metal, and the liquid metal flows through the gating system, through the components of a gating system, which is pouring basin, sprue, which is also called as a down sprue, runner and ingot, and then the liquid metal enters into the mold cavity. Now when we are already supplying a liquid metal through a components of a gating system, then why do we need the other reservoir of a liquid metal? So the question can come that why do we need a riser? So we all are aware that metal casting is a manufacturing process, and every manufacturing process has some mechanism behind it. The mechanism of metal casting process is a solidification process, and during the solidification process, as we know that when liquid gets converted into the solid, the mass remains, mass of the liquid metal or mass of the metal throughout the process remains constant. And as we know that the density rho is nothing but m upon v. When the mass remains constant, as the liquid gets converted into the solid, solid has a higher density than a liquid, so the density is going to increase, and so naturally the volume is going to reduce. So this reduction into the volume which takes place during the process of solidification can be classified in three types of shrinkages. One can be called as a liquid shrinkage, one is called as a solidification shrinkage, and a third is called as a solidification contraction or a solid contraction. Now this total liquid shrinkage which is taking place, like the total liquid shrinkage which is taking place plus the solidification shrinkage. So if I talk about, let's say, a liquid shrinkage, so the liquid shrinkage is going to take place between the pouring temperature and a melting point temperature. So it is liquid to liquid transition, and that's why it is called as a liquid shrinkage. When we talk about, let's say, a solidification shrinkage, it takes place when the liquid metal gets converted into the solid. So here the transition is liquid to solid, and then we have a solid contraction. Solid contraction takes place during this transition of a solid which is at a melting point temperature to solid which is at a room temperature. So the combination of these two or summation of these two is the total liquid shrinkage that we have. And in order to compensate that liquid shrinkage, we use a riser which is called as a reservoir of a liquid metal. So various metals have a different amount of liquid shrinkages. If we talk about, let's say, carbon steels, usually their shrinkage varies between 2.5 to 3%. We have a copper which has got a liquid shrinkage of a 4.9%. Aluminum, the metal which has the highest liquid shrinkage, it has a shrinkage of a 6.6%. We have an alloy which is called as a grey cast iron, and whose shrinkage varies between 1.9% to negative. So I think you might have heard of this fact that grey cast iron expands upon solidification. So what happens is that towards the end of the solidification process, in a grey cast iron, the graphitization process takes place, and due to that process the grey cast iron expands. So depending on what is the chemical composition of a grey cast iron, how much amount of a shrinkage will take place will be decided, right? So if I talk about, let's say, just aluminum, and what is a meaning of a liquid shrinkage mathematically if we talk. So if I say that, let's say we have a let's say we have a mold cavity, and the mold cavity has a volume of, let's say, 100 mm cube, and if we pour, let's say, 100 mm cube of a liquid aluminum into this, then upon the solidification, as the liquid shrinkage of aluminum is 6.6%, we will have, let us roughly call it as a, let's say, 6%, then we will get a solid of a 94 mm cube. So this 100 mm cube liquid metal we poured, but we got the solid of a 94 mm cube. So this 6 mm cube reduction into the volume which has taken place, that is called as a shrinkage. And in order to compensate this particular shrinkage, the riser is used. Okay, I hope you understood this, that what is riser and why do we need to use a riser. Now, what are we exactly going to do in a riser design? What it means to design a riser? What are the things that we should decide in riser design? So basically there are three things. If you come to know this, if you can find out these three things, you can say that you have designed a riser. The first thing that we should be determining is what is going to be a volume of riser. Now, when I say volume of riser, we mean that how much amount of a liquid metal we are going to supply through riser. That is the meaning of a volume of riser. So, volume of riser is equal to the volume of liquid metal which a riser is going to have, right? The second thing that we should be deciding in a riser design is what is going to be the shape of riser. We have a variety of shapes which are available to us, and what is going to be the shape of riser. This is a second thing that we are going to decide. And the third thing that we are going to decide is that what is going to be the dimensions of a riser. So dimensions of a riser, which means that if you have a cubical riser, what is going to be the side of a cube? If you have a cylindrical riser, then what is going to be the diameter and height? If you have a spherical riser, then what is going to be the diameter of a sphere? So that's what we are going to decide. Now, let us talk about the first thing, which is a volume of a riser. See, here in this example, we saw that there is going to be a volumetric shrinkage of a 6 mm cube. So, does it mean that in a riser, we should be providing 6 mm cube of a liquid metal only? No. Why? Because the liquid metal which is present into the riser has to experience the similar laws that of the metal which is present into the mold cavity, right? So as the liquid metal into the mold cavity is going to solidify, and so similarly the liquid metal which is present into the riser is also going to solidify. So because the liquid metal which is present in the riser is going to solidify, supplying only the exact 6 mm cube of a liquid metal is not going to help. And so we always say that the volume of a riser should be greater than the volume of a shrinkage cavity. Here this 6 mm cube can be called as a volume of a shrinkage cavity. Now how do you find out the volume of a shrinkage cavity? So you can say that if, let us say, VC is a volume of casting, let us say. We know the size of a casting that we want to produce, and so we know what is a volume of a casting. Let us say A is equal to percentage of a liquid shrinkage which takes place during the process of solidification. And as we saw, what is, let's say, VSC can be called as a volume of shrinkage cavity. Then the volume of shrinkage cavity can be found by volume of casting into A divided by 100. So यहाँ पे हमने देखा here the volume of this particular casting that we want to produce is 100 mm cube. So here you put volume of casting as a 100 mm cube. A is a percentage of shrinkage, which is 6% shrinkage is taking place in case of aluminum, and so it is divided by 100. So here you have 6 mm cube, and this is the volume of shrinkage cavity, right? So what should be the volume of riser? The volume of riser should be more than volume of shrinkage cavity. Now usually we believe that the volume of riser should be at least 3 times the volume of shrinkage cavity. So one of the method of a riser design follows this particular rule that the volume of riser should be 3 times volume of a shrinkage cavity. But then we have a different methods for a riser design, and different method follows different kind of a formulas and different kind of approach in order to do the riser design. So in general, we say that for the understanding, and one of the method of riser design uses this particular formula or this particular relation, that the volume of riser should be at least 3 times the volume of a shrinkage cavity. So from here, let's say our first problem is solved. We know what is the volume of riser design. But the second thing is what should be the shape of riser design. Now in order to understand what should be the shape of riser design, we need to understand what is the Coriolis equation. So let me first of all explain that to you, and then we will discuss about then we will be discussing about that what is going to be the shape of riser. So in 1949, this guy called Nicholas Korinov gave one rule, or gave one very simple formula with the help of which we can find out what is going to be the solidification time of a casting. So if, let's say, if we denote the solidification time of a casting by a tau, which means that if we pour the liquid metal into the mold cavity, how much total time will it take to solidify, right? That's what we want to know. From there, we can also find, like if we know the total solidification time, we can also find out what is going to be the production rate, how quickly the casting is going to solidify. That is something which we can find out. So if we denote the solidification time as a tau, then he says that the solidification time tau is proportional to the volume to a surface area ratio whole square, right? So this is, he says that the solidification time tau is proportional to the volume upon surface area whole square, volume of a casting upon surface area of a casting. So if I remove, let's say, proportionality sign from here, the constant K comes, and volume upon surface area is also called as a modulus, and it is also denoted by M. So I can write that volume upon surface area is M, so K into modulus square, where K is called as a mold constant. It can also be called as a mold factor. It is called as a solidification factor or solidification constant. So if you will read different books or different materials, you will find different names for a K. And the K depends on K depends on to the surroundings of a mold cavity, surroundings of a riser. Now K is not of interest to us right now, and we are interested in this equation, which is very simple equation. Let us try to understand this. Here what this equation wants to convey is that volume is representing the amount of a thermal energy that a body is possessing. So naturally, if the component has a bigger volume, let's say a mold cavity has a higher amount of a volume, it means that it has a higher amount of a liquid metal into it. And higher is the amount of a liquid metal that a mold cavity possesses, higher is the thermal energy of a mold cavity. The surface area represents the ability of a component, ability of a mold cavity, ability of a body, ability of a system to release the heat, or what is going to be the rate of heat transfer from the body, from the system, from the component, from the liquid metal, or from the mold cavity. So we know that higher is the volume, higher is the amount of a liquid metal, higher is the amount of a liquid metal, higher is the amount of a thermal energy it possesses. And higher is the surface area. Higher is the surface area. Higher is going to be the rate of heat transfer. Why? Because from a very simple formula of a Fourier's law, we know from a heat transfer that the rate of heat transfer, Q is given by Ka dt upon dx, where A is the area through which the heat transfer is taking place. So if we increase the area, if we increase the surface area, then what is going to happen? The rate of heat transfer is going to increase. The rate at which the heat dissipates into the atmosphere is going to increase. So this ratio tells us what is the ability of a body to hold the heat to what is the ability of a body to transfer the heat, to dissipate the heat. So this is something, I think, this very simple formula written in terms of a volume and surface area conveys a lot about the energy. And though the formula is very simple, it conveys a very what I can say, a very good, a very deep message as far as how something which is complex can be represented by something which is very simple. So I hope you understood what this volume upon surface area wants to convey. Now let us come back to the shape of a riser. One thing which we know that the riser has to solidify after the solidification of a casting is completed. So if, let's say, solidification time of a casting is, let's say, 1 minute, and if a solidification time of a riser is, let us say, 50 seconds, then how the riser is going to supply a liquid metal? It won't be able to supply. So one thing that we know is that the solidification time of a riser, which can be denoted by, let us say, tau r, should be greater than the solidification time of a casting, which means that the riser has to solidify after the completion of a solidification of a casting. If it is so, and if the solidification time is directly proportional to, let's say, a modulus or volume upon surface area, then it also means that the modulus of a riser has to be greater than the modulus of a casting, which means that the volume upon surface area ratio of a riser has to be greater than the volume upon a surface area ratio of a casting. So when it comes to deciding the shape of a riser, we should select such a shape which has got a highest volume upon surface area ratio, so that it takes a highest time, or it takes more amount of a time to solidify, so that the riser can feed the casting, till the solidification of a casting gets completed. So we would like to choose a particular shape for a riser which has got a volume upon surface area ratio high, which has got a higher volume upon surface area ratio. So if we talk about, let's say, basic shapes which are available to us, let's say if I compare the 3 basic shapes, I'll just rub this. The cube, we have, let's say, 3 shapes. Cube, cylinder, and let's say a sphere. Now if we compare the volume upon surface area ratio of cube to the volume upon surface area ratio of a cylinder to that of, let's say, a sphere, then we will come to know that out of these 3, the cube has got minimum volume upon surface area ratio. Then comes the cylinder, and then comes the sphere. So if we have a cube, a cylinder, and a sphere of equal volume, all of them are having equal volume, and if we take, let's say, volume upon surface area ratio of all of 3, what we will find is that the cube has got a minimum volume to surface area ratio, then comes the cylinder and the sphere, which means that the sphere has got highest volume to surface area ratio. What does it mean? It means that if you have, let's say, a spherical cavity, if you have, let's say, a cylindrical cavity, and if you have, let's say, cubical cavity of a same volume, and if you pour a liquid metal in all of them, then the liquid metal into the sphere is going to solidify at the end. It will take a maximum time. And so we want a liquid metal to be there into the riser till the end. For a maximum amount of time, we want the liquid metal to be present into the riser. And so for us, the spherical shape is going to be the right shape to make a riser. But the issue with the spherical shape is that it is very difficult to make a spherical riser. When we are doing a sand casting, it is very difficult to make a spherical shape, or spherical cavity into the mold to provide a spherical shape riser. And so, because it is difficult to make a spherical shape riser, we are choosing the next best shape, which is a cylinder. So it's very simple to make a cylindrical riser. If you have seen a casting process, then you will come to know that in order to make a riser, they just take a cylindrical pipe and they just put the sand around it, and then they are going through the compaction and the ramming. And at the end, they just remove the cylindrical pipe, and what you will see is a cylindrical cavity, and that cylindrical cavity is nothing but a riser. So because it's very simple to make a cylindrical cavity, cylindrical riser, so we are choosing a cylinder as a preferable shape of a riser design, right? So two things we have decided till now, two things we came to know till now. First thing is what is going to be the volume of riser and what is going to be the shape of riser. Now comes that what is going to be the dimension of a riser. Now upon deciding this, that we are going to have a cylindrical riser, and if I just take the example of a aluminum only, which we took in the beginning of the lecture, that the volume of shrinkage cavity is a 6 mm cube, and because the volume of riser should be at least 3 times the volume of a shrinkage cavity, so the volume of riser is going to be 3 into 6, which is 18 mm cube, right? Now I came to know what is the volume of riser, and I have decided what is going to be the shape of riser, cylindrical shape. Now, what is the volume of a cylinder? So volume of a cylinder is nothing but a pi by 4 d square h. Now when it comes to deciding the dimensions of a riser, I want to find out what is going to be the d and what is going to be the h of a riser. So here it is 18 mm cube. Now you have one equation, pi by 4 d square h. You need to decide what is d and what is h. You have one equation and you have two unknowns. One equation, two unknowns. How we will find out two unknowns? We won't be able to do that. If you have two equations, two unknowns, we will be able to do it, but one equation and two unknowns. So we won't be able to find out what is going to be d and what is going to be the h. Now, we have decided that we are going to have a cylindrical riser. In order to design a cylindrical riser, we should know what is d and h. So how are we going to find out the d and h? So before we go to that, before we come to this, how to find out d and h, let me introduce you to a type of riser that we have. So basically, we have three type of riser. I'm going to rub all of this. If you want to write any of these things, just pause the video and just, you can make a note. So, So we were talking about type of risers, okay? So there are there are total 3 types of riser that we have. Or I would say there are 2 types and then there is a, the classification ahead. So one is called as a open riser and the second is called as a blind riser. Now, what is open riser and what is blind riser? Let me draw a figure and let me explain this to you, that what is a open riser and what is a blind riser. So we have a sprue which supplies a liquid matter. Let's say this is our mold cavity, this is a runner, and so we know that here this is a runner, there is a, this is a sprue, there is a runner, there is an ingot here, let's say, I'm not showing it here, not necessary, and this is our mold cavity. We all know that this is a riser. The question may come into your mind that why it is called a riser. It is called riser because when you pour a liquid metal, the liquid metal rises from here, and that's why it is called as a riser. In few books you may also find that a riser is also called as a feeder. It is called as a feeder because it feeds a mold cavity with a liquid metal. So that's why it is called as a riser, or it can also be called as a feeder. Now this riser, as you see, is open to atmosphere, right? So its top surface is open to the atmosphere, and that's why it is called as a open riser. And second that we have a blind riser, the riser which is not open to atmosphere. So we know that, this is nothing but a molding sand. Mold is made up of nothing but a molding sand, and so here the top surface is covered by a molding sand. Top surface is covered. So this is called as nothing but a blind riser. So we have 2 types of a riser, open riser and a blind riser. Now in open riser we have again a 2 type of riser. So one is called as a top riser and second is called as a side riser. Now we are going to see what top riser and side riser is in detail, but we were actually talking about how to find out the value of a D and H. So after knowing the classification of risers, we will be finding out the relation between D and H. So let's say if I know that D is equal to 2 times H, let us say, just assume, if I know that the relationship between D and H is so that the D is equal to twice that of H. So if I know the D, I can find out H. If I know the H, I can find out the D. So what we will try to do here is that for the top riser and the side riser, which are commercially used risers, for them, we will try to find out the relationship between D and H. So if I can find out the relationship between D and H, then let's say D is equal to twice that of H. So if I write it here, pi by 4, D is equal to 2H. So instead of D, I am going to write 2H square into H is equal to 18 mm cube. So from here you can find out the H. If you know the H, you can find out the D. So what we will be doing now is that we will be finding out a relationship between D and H. Okay. I hope you are understanding whatever I am explaining here. So I am going to rub this. I am going to rub this figure, and now we will talk about open riser and a side riser, and for both of them we will try to establish a relation between D and H. So what is open riser? So let us say that this is the mold cavity, or let's say this is a casting, and if we put a riser on the top surface of a mold cavity. So if we supply the liquid metal through the riser like this, which means we don't supply from top, it is full of liquid metal, and if the liquid metal is supplied from this riser like this is called as a top riser. When the riser is kept at a midpoint of a topmost surface of a mold cavity, that is called as a top riser. So for this particular riser, let us say it is open to atmosphere. Let's say this dimension, which is this is the diameter of a riser, and let us say this is the height of a riser. So this is what the top riser is. Now if we talk about, let's say, a side riser, then the side riser is going to look like this, where we have this casting or mold cavity, and the liquid metal will be supplied from its side. So the liquid metal will be supplied from the side. Okay, so this riser, as you see, because it supplies the liquid metal from the side of a mold cavity, it is called as a side riser. And again, let us say that height of a riser is capital H and its diameter is capital D. So for side riser and open riser, we are going to establish a relationship between D and H so that we can find out the individual dimensions. Okay, so as we all know that this is a cylindrical riser, both of them are cylindrical riser, and the volume of a cylinder is a pi by 4 d square H. Now here, just give me a moment, I'll change the chalk. So what is the volume of it? It is pi by 4 d square H. What is going to be the surface area of riser? Now, the surface area of a cylinder, if you have a cylinder, let's say this is a cylinder that we have, this is not a cylinder, if you consider this as a cylinder, then its surface area is the surface area, which is top surface area. If the diameter is d, it is pi by 4 d square. Similarly, this surface area, which is pi by 4 d square, so it is pi by 4 d square plus pi by 4 d square, 2 pi by 4 d square, and then the peripheral, which is called as the pi d h. Now here, when we talk about surface area, I am talking about that surface area which contributes into the heat transfer, right? So we know that this particular cross section is exposed to the mold cavity. So it is not going to help in a heat transfer. It is not going to, this surface is not going to contribute, this cross section is not going to contribute into the heat dissipation in a heat transfer. Only this top surface, this particular cross section is going to help in a heat dissipation, and then definitely the peripheral is going to help in a heat dissipation. So if I am considering the surface area which is going to contribute into the heat transfer, it is going to be the pi by 4 d square plus the pi d h. Now, what is the idea behind establishing the relationship between D and H? How the relationship between the D and H should be? Let me explain that to you first. So, what we want to achieve through the riser design, or what we want to exactly achieve through the providing a riser, is that we want to feed a liquid metal to the mold cavity till the completion of a solidification of a mold cavity. That's what we want to do. And for that, we want the riser to solidify at the end. And if we want a riser to solidify, or let's say if we want a riser to take maximum time to solidify, so we want to increase a tau, we want to maximize the tau. And in order to maximize the tau, as we know it is directly proportional to volume upon surface area whole square, I would like to maximize the volume upon surface area. If I want to maximize this ratio of a volume upon surface area, what we should be doing is that we should be minimizing the surface area. So if my surface area is minimum, then the volume upon surface area ratio is going to be the maximum, and if that is maximum, then the solidification time of a riser is also going to be maximum. So what I'm going to do, we are going to establish a relationship between D and H in such a way that the surface area of a riser is minimum. We are going to do that. Now you have learnt in mathematics that if you want to minimize a function or maximize a function, what you should be doing is that you differentiate that function with respect to a particular variable, then you equate it to the 0, and then you find out the maxima and minimum. So we are going to follow the same procedure here. So what I want to minimize is the surface area. I want to minimize the surface area. The surface area is pi by 4d square plus pi dh. So from here, from this particular formula that volume is equal to pi by 4d square h, I replace h as a 4v by pi d square in this formula. Why I am replacing it, you will come to know in a minute. 4v by pi d square, because we want to differentiate this surface area, right? It is a function of a d. So if I want to differentiate surface area with respect to something, and if I want to find out the maxima or minima, I should be having only one variable into the equation, right? So this is going to be pi by 4 d square plus this pi cancel, dd cancel, this is 4v upon d. Now we are differentiation of a surface area with respect to d, and then we are going to equate it to the 0. This is what you have learned in the mathematics, in a maxima and minima, in a differentiation, in a calculus you have learned this, right? So if I differentiate this pi by 4d square, it is going to be how much? 2 times pi by 4 into d, right? Plus, sorry, it is going to be minus 4v upon d square, and we are equating this to 0. So now we have this 2, so this is pi by 2 into d, and if I take this 4v by d square on the other side, this is going to be 4 by d square, and because volume is constant, and that's why we don't differentiate volume here, because volume is constant. So if I put the formula for volume, which is pi by 4 d square h, let's say instead of volume, let me write pi by 4 d square h, then as you can see is that this d square is cancelled, this 4 is cancelled, this pi is cancelled, and so we have d is equal to 2 times h, or you can also write it otherwise, the height should be 0.5 times d. We should be remembering this. This is very important. So if I am designing a top riser, then the relationship between d and h should be such that d is equal to 2 times h. Now I know what is the volume of what is the volume of riser. Previous case, remember this, it is 18 mm cube. So volume of riser is again nothing but pi by 4 d square h is equal to 18, and I'm going to put let's say h is equal to 0.5 d or half d. So this is going to be pi by 8, because 1 by 2 multiplied here, it is going to be d cube is equal to 18, and you can find out d from here. Once you know the d, you can also find out h, right? So half of the d is nothing but a h. So this is how we can find out. So in this case, you will be able to find out what is the volume, then you will be able to find out what is a shape. We definitely found out the shape, which is a cylindrical shape, and here you can find out the individual dimensions as well. So this is for a top riser. Now let us establish the same relationship for a side riser. So whether it is a side riser or a top riser, the volume remains same. What is going to the surface area? Surface area is going to be different than that of a top riser. Why? You see here. So in case of a side riser, in case of top riser, what was happening is that this particular surface does not contribute to the heat transfer. But while in case of a side riser, both the surfaces are going to contribute to the heat transfer. The lower surface as well as the top surface, and definitely the peripheral area as well. So here I'll be considering this pi by 4 d square plus this pi by 4 d square, so 2 pi by 4 d square, and then the pi dh. So if we consider 2 pi by 4 d square, then it is going to be a pi by 2 d square, right, plus pi dh. And now the procedure remains same. Let us do it for a side riser. So it is pi by 4 d square plus pi d. Instead of h, I can write 4 by 4v by pi d square. So if you simplify this, d square d square d square d is cancelled, pi is cancelled. So this is going to be a pi by 4 d square plus plus pi is cancelled. So this is going to be 4v upon d. Again, so if you look at this formula, we have only one variable, which is d, and we are going to differentiate the surface area with respect to the diameter d, and then we are going to equate it to the 0, and so this is going to be 2 pi d by 4, right, and minus 4v upon d square, and we are equating it to 0. So this is pi by 2 d, and if you take 4v by d square on the other side, it is going to be 4 upon d square. And if I put the value of a volume, which is formula of a volume which is put a volume here, pi by 4 d square h, then you know this d square is cancelled, 4 is cancelled, this pi is cancelled, and so sorry, this is pi by I committed a mistake, pi by 2 d square, and so this is going to be a pi by 2 here, and so this 2 gets cancelled, and so there is no 2 here. So you have d is equal to h. This is a relationship for a side riser. So when you are designing a side riser, if you know what is the volume of riser, similarly pi by 4 d square h is equal to 18. So if you are designing a side riser, instead of h you are going to put a d, so it is going to be pi by 4 d cube is equal to 18, and you will find what is a diameter of a riser. If you know what is the diameter of a riser, you will also know what is the height of a riser. So this is how, by establishing a relationship between d and h in such a way so that the surface area can be minimized, and so the volume upon surface area ratio can be maximized, and so the tau can be, which is the solidification time, is maximized, we will be able to establish a relationship between d and h. Right? I hope you understood this. It will be nice if you can note down this. Okay, so this is some of the basics of a riser design, and in our next class we will be looking at the various methods of a riser design, right? So I hope you understood. In case of any doubt, you can write to me, and thanks a lot for joining.